Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CB Nostalgia, and I thought we could talk a little bit about Young Justice Phantom. Well, as many of you know, Young Justice Phantoms did something quite different than previous seasons of Young Justice. Typically, we got one large, overreaching storyline with multiple mini-stories in the middle. But this year they went in a different direction and decided to focus on the original team. Now, we had 6 different arcs. The first one focused on Mars, along with Magan and Superboy. The second one focused on Artemis, along with her sister Jade. The third one focused on Zatanna and her new magical students. The fourth one focused on Calderon and Atlantis. The fifth one focused on Rocket and New Genesis. And finally, the sixth arc was Nightwing and really was a culmination of all the other stories. Now, as for the arcs, there were lots of things that worked with this season, but there was also stuff that didn't, so I thought we could break down a couple things on each side of the fence. So let's start with what worked. Probably the biggest thing that worked this season was the Mythos expansion. We got a full-on history of Vandal Savage and how he helped sculpt Earth-16. We also saw some inner workings of the Light that we had never seen before, and more importantly, the battle between Chaos and Order. This will ultimately be the main battle in the Young Justice universe, and we really were never aware of a lot of these details, and they were front and center for multiple arcs this season. Probably the second thing that worked this year was the cosmic expansion, and I'm not talking about space. We got an amazing expansion of the various cosmic entities of the Young Justice universe. We journeyed to New Genesis and met several new gods who were clearly going to play a big part in the future. But then there was the Green Lantern Corps, and I have to say there's hard to find anything that really set the fans afire more this season than that. The return of Razor, along with making Green Lantern the animated series Young Justice adjacent, the cosmic footprint of the Earth-16 universe expanded massively this season, and leveraging that old Green Lantern series completely worked, and I had to love it. Now, probably the third thing that really worked this year was the Magic School Bus. If you've been a fan of the show, you know the Magic School Bus has been around forever and has played along in various elements since the beginning of the show. Fans have speculated for a while if it was just a little Easter egg, but early in the season when we saw the bus pop into space, it was pretty clear it was going to mean a lot more. The season actually leveraged the bus, its story, and its thread through the Young Justice universe and series really well, and I have to say it totally gave a satisfactory conclusion. All of these things were really great about the show and stood out above a lot of the other elements for me as far as story and impact. Now, there were a few things that didn't work, so let's be very clear. First off, several of the core characters were kind of left behind. We did get a great focus on Magan and Superboy, on Artemis, and on Calderon, but quite honestly, I felt like Rocket's arc really left a lot of Rocket out of the arc, and Nightwing's arc really just served as a capstone to the whole series. I was honestly anticipating potentially going to the Dakotaverse with Rocket, or spending some time with the Bat family in Gotham City along with Nightwing, and this really didn't happen. Kinda was a bit of a bummer and didn't really meet my expectations for a character-focused arc, but the story was so good, you have to give it a bit of a pass. Now, one of the other things that really didn't work this season was, overall, there were fewer stories. You know, typically we get 1 or 2 episode combinations that are telling a story, and that leads into a much bigger story. This season, it was effectively 6 small ones. It wasn't very episodic, and honestly, with Calderon's arc almost being released all at one time, it went really fast. I definitely enjoyed the change, but it is something we sacrificed in order for these character-focused arcs to work. And then probably the last thing I felt didn't work this year is we got teased with a lot of, but very little old character resolution. Yeah, I'm talking about Jason Todd and Wally West. In the Artemis arc, we got a lot of Jason Todd's character, who is now training with Sensei and Ra's al Ghul. But we really didn't get any resolution to his story, and it was just sort of left hanging there to be developed in the future. I know fans really wanted to see more of Jason, and we were expecting him to appear in that Nightwing arc, so I have to say I think this left some people a little bit disappointed. And then there's Wally West. Wow, did we get a big tease of Wally this year in the Phantom Zone. And quite honestly, I was thoroughly convinced that that is where Wally is at. Now, Greg has suggested that Wally appeared that way in the Zone because Connor thought he was dead, just like Connor thought he was dead himself. That turned out not to be the case, and it could have just been a pure hallucination, but I am still totally holding on to hope for the return of Wally, and I think this might have been the biggest clue yet. Fans have been clamoring for Wally to come back for a really long time, and I have to say, if there's any big element of disappointment this season, it might be the lack of resolution on that point. Now, like I said, I totally enjoyed the season overall. I would give the entire season an 8.5 out of 10. It could have done a couple things better, but I think fans really loved it, and we need to stay energized for a potential Season 5. Speaking of Season 5, make sure you keep working those hashtags. Renew Young Justice Season 5, and Save Earth 16 are the hashtags you need to post to your social media. Make sure you attach a positive message and tag HBO and Warner Brothers Animation so they know how much we want another season. But until we get more, I gotta know what you guys think. What part of Season 4 totally worked for you? And inversely, what part of Season 4 totally didn't? Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you're not going to get any updates. Peace.